In the first grade, I punched a kid in the face for no reason. It's the top 5 best or worst modern cartoons or anime, volume 6, in no particular order. This video is the adults only edition since adults like cartoons too. It's Juice and Jam time.
Are you the puberty fairy?
The fuck did you just call me?
The puberty fairy?
Puberty fairy? I'm the hormone monster. I'm not a fairy. I mean, sure, I fuck around with dudes, but I'm not a fairy.
Hey, remember when I thought Netflix could do no wrong? That was when there was hope in the world. Big Mouth on Netflix. It's the most disgusted I felt since scrolling through Loud House fan art on Tumblr. You all know what you did. Big Mouth is about these little kids. No, wait, they're teenagers going through puberty. They don't look like teenagers. They look more like kinder students or Duckman or Pruane 2 Forever on YouTube.
Hello, YouTube. It's my birthday today.
Through each episode, these kids, voiced by adults, go through puberty and we're forced to watch it. It's the fully coolie of American animation, except I wish Big Mouth ended in 6 episodes. As a sort of fairy godparents ordeal, the kids are accompanied by Roger from American Dad. I mean, a hormone monster only they can see, or some other people can see. They set up rules and don't really follow them.
Oh, yeah. Sit with her. Remember when she made you jizz your pants at the dance?
No, I forgot when I publicly ejaculated.
Really?
No, never gonna forget that.
Let me ask you something. Is the idea of little kids getting boners or menstruating funny to you? Cause that's the whole show. I mean, there is some funny banter and running gags that reoccur during different episodes, but at its best, the humor is just passable, yet nothing I'd sit through. The most impressive joke is the one musical number about coming out by the ghost of Freddie Mercury, with such a dead-on impression. People think it's Jordan Peele's voice, but it's actually an artist called McCain.
You've got style and flair, you're loved everywhere except for North Carolina.
Big Mouth proudly pushes boundaries at the kind of stuff you can't do on TV, but can do on Netflix. The question is, did anyone want to see giant talking penises or an uncensored underage girl's talking vagina? I'm sure if you binge on anime you would, but not me.
Watchmen was spectacular. There's a blue wiener that you see throughout the movie, which I loved.
This gross-out comedy is just too gross, even for me. It's like when you're hanging with friends you don't fully agree with, but are still cool. And then they want you to commit arson at a Toys R Us. Sure, you'll go along with it, strike fear into the kid who cut in line and bought the last exclusive Jinx Funko Pop. But by the time you're lighting up a KB Toys, you just have to say, hey man, this just isn't for me. Big Mouth is a show that ranges between hideous to passable. Maybe people will relate to the puberty scenarios the kids get into, but not me. I didn't jack off until I was like 20, so I can't do that. True story. So, I'll just imagine Pruane 2 Forever as the main kid.
Well, shit was not in weight. And definitely not fear, cause we fear nothing! Yeah! And if you don't like that, fuck you!
無慈悲で残忍な最強の悪魔をこの世に作り出してしまったのではないか。
Devilman Crybaby, a 10-episode Netflix miniseries. It's about a kid named Akira, no relation, going to a club with his friend. Shit happens, and for reasons, Akira becomes a superhero, Devilman. In a world full of people turning into demons, Akira must learn to control his demonic urges with the help of his childhood friend, Ryo, who is definitely not evil. What's so unique about Akira and his Devilman form is he's such a vicious character but with a sensitive side. It's more interesting for a physically strong character to use compassion rather than violence. A good premise for a hero that's kind of undercooked. I'll get into why later. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, this art style really is the final product. The faded flat colors look like an episode of China, Illinois. That bimbo looks like a blow-up doll, and this driving sequence forgot to add stars or any sort of background detail. The style is jarring from first impressions, but it becomes just acceptable for the mundane scenes. It's when shit gets crazy does the style work in its favor. This was directed by... known for his trippy, flat fluid visuals. Devilman is exploitive and sleazy. There is no way YouTube will let me show you half of its psychedelic imagery. It's a sight to behold. Some may say it's fugly, but the way it moves has a charm. You've seen the Naruto run? Well, get ready for the Devilman run. But the weirdness is the only thing that kept me around. For me, it worked better as a raunchy, surreal comedy than a serious drama I've seen so often before. What do I mean by that? Well, from what I've been told, the 1987 Devilman anime and the 72 manga were groundbreaking for how gruesome they were and how shocking their stories ended up. But now for a generation who grew up watching Adult Swim and Newgrounds.com, violent and sexual animation isn't special anymore. Honestly, I was more disturbed watching Big Mouth than this, really. Not only was the old Devilman groundbreaking for the time, it was highly influential, and therein lies the problem. So many artists took inspiration from Devilman or happen to do things similar that when I see this new Devilman Crybaby, I feel I've already seen it before. Even smaller details I've seen in Evangelion and Berserk. Hell, I just watched Parasite months ago. Yeah, I know it's a retelling of an old story, but what's the point of retelling it if it's already been done a billion times? It's like how the books of John Carter inspired everything from Star Wars to Conan, and no one gave a shit when that came back from the dead. But I'm being pretty harsh on things even the original Star Wars was guilty of. Tons of classic stories like, let's say, Iron Giant was just an E.T. ripoff. Done before ideas can become classics through good execution and good characters. There's scenes that should be more emotional but use characters we barely knew. Devilman's story focuses on Akira and his reunion with his childhood friend, Ryo, whose first impression after being gone for so long is Ryo firing his gun to assert his dominance among Akira's friends, and Akira doesn't even acknowledge it.
取り込み中なんですよこっち。お前ら黙ってろ。なんだよそれ。アキラ、りょうちゃん。てめえざけやがって。こいつ。アキラ、すぐ一緒に来てくれ。アキラ君誰その人？アスカりょう。僕と同い年なのにアメリカの大学で教授やってるんだ。
Akira is supposed to be a character that emphasizes with others getting hurt, but when it comes to his best friend, he almost never questions Ryo's terrible actions. So often I feel Akira's gonna realize, hey, this guy's bad news and is gonna leave him, but no, they still hang out with each other. Maybe this episode Akira's gonna realize he's bad, but no, friends forever. Spoiler, eventually Akira realizes far too late into the series, wait a minute, this guy was evil. I've been bamboozled. There's a difference between a character's fault being too trusting and being just a complete moron. Ryo could have put on a mustache and pretended to be a different person and Akira would fall for it.
I'm Dante, and I'm the biggest idiot ever.
I've got to put that one in my dream journal.
This would have worked had they treated this like an abusive relationship where Ryo's bad deeds are more subtle and Akira tries to convince himself this is normal or for the greater good. But Akira doesn't really question it despite the whole point is that he's empathetic while Ryo is way too blatant about how evil he is. There is zero subtlety within this show like this dinner scene. Yeah, just a typical dinner with the family right next to my realistic 10-foot wide painting of the Last Supper. I wonder if that has a greater meaning. I truly cared more for the supporting characters, even if their plot lines go nowhere. Some of Akira's other friends also double as rappers that recap events of the show. It's among the few good rap songs in animation. Well, I can't understand them without subtitles, but it sounds like they have flow.
金もない学もない先行きすら真っ暗いこの街に生まれ落ちた時点で未来なんてない光はあるのかそりゃどこかにはあるかもでも未だ迷子迷路どの道を行けど曲がり角
For the most part, the surreal stuff is all that kept me watching. It really needed more of that rather than static flat dialogue scenes. The overall quality balanced out to okay until the finale that shoved in a whole nother season in the final 2 episodes. It was as if they wrote down every single idea they had and put it all in. You thought Legend of Korra had its Korra-Asami relationship come out of nowhere? Well, Devilman chest burst out of your torso with some bullshit. It practically ended with Devilman dressing up as Santa as kids line up to sit on his lap, while the end of Evangelion, regular show's finale, the Animatrix Second Renaissance, and the SpongeBob Pie episode happened all at once. It is the biggest, well, that happened I've ever seen. Devilman Crybaby. It's been done before, the characters are sloppy, but the weirdness kept me watching. There just was not enough of it. Overall, I give it an
Hello, neighbor. I baked you a pie and...
Aw, is baby gonna cry? Does baby want his bottle?
Shut up,
Andy! No We Ranch! No Urban Ranger! No badge!
MTV Snowed In is brought to you by Konami's Castlevania, now available on Nintendo 64.
The other day, I was thinking, man, it'd be cool to have an American adult action cartoon, something like HBO's Spawn. Well, Castlevania, the Netflix series, came out at just the right time. Based on the classic Konami video game and slot machine by the same name, Castlevania tells the story of a vampire cursing a village, and it's the duty of one guy to save it. Trevor Belmont, who hails from a family bloodline of monster hunters. In this classy gothic horror series of elegant architecture, Trevor is this drunk schlub who could care less about all the destruction going on around him, especially when the Belmont clan is hated by the villagers. Yet Trevor is still highly skilled in his weapon of choice, a whip. This is a slow burn packing in too much dialogue, but once things start to happen, it is brutal. They are not tasteful about the blood in any way. This could easily take place in the Metalocalypse universe. I've talked plenty about violent shows on this video already, but this is the only time when the blood and gore seemed way too harsh. They use blood in scenes that should be much lighter and comedic, like, was that really necessary?
Jesus Christ!
Then again, maybe it illustrates how these characters aren't goofy cartoons. Most stories that portray a bar fight make them silly, but in real life, blood would be shed. Could you blame them? It is some of the best violence and action animation in years. Damn. What also sets this show apart is most of the voice actors are known for their live action roles. Everyone sounds more natural. It's very rare to see a cartoon where Tara Strong and Tom Kenny aren't voicing 80% of the background characters.
The church burned Dracula's wife at the stake as a witch.
Shit.
That is indeed one way of putting it.
Netflix has only released 4 episodes, but another 8 are on the way, so I'm hoping it keeps up the quality. What I like to see is for Trevor and Dracula to meet as they're both despised by the villagers. That could make for an interesting conflict when the hero and villain both hate the world they're protecting or terrorizing. Castlevania is looking to be a promising series that I'm assuming stays true to the video games. I mean, look at this. Wow, I cannot tell the difference.
In a time of civil and political unrest, one man works tirelessly to defend the American dream.
I've remained mostly silent about this outside the insulin-fueled Twitter rants I delete the morning after, but I feel now I have to talk about this show and who it parodies. Showtime TV's Our Cartoon President, a real-life TV show rushed into production. PopTeam Epoch, an anime based on short, weird little manga strips. Usually when someone turns a 3 to 4 panel comic strip into a show, it takes the characters and puts them into 30-minute long stories. Well, PopTeam Epoch literally gets its manga strips and turns that into a whole sketch show. Sketches that shift between live action, puppets, 2D, 3D, even altering voice actors and art styles. You thought Bobobo was deranged? Well, get that weak shit out of here, boy.
PopTeam Epic. Team Epic.
PopTeam Epic follows two characters and they do stuff. It's the anime equivalent of a WarioWare video game or the Eric Andre show. It's hard to criticize a sketch show since it's a mixed bag. You don't know what you're getting. Sometimes random, sometimes the gag makes a bit of sense, and other times it's just, look, reference, Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the movie.
I'm late! I'm gonna be late!
My name is Popco. I'm just your average run-of-the-mill 14-year-old 7th grader.
The episodes are 20 minutes long, but halfway through they just repeat the entirety of the same exact episode with male or female voice actors and some other minor differences. I don't know why they do that, but I feel the male voice actors add to the crazy.
Oh no! I'm late! I'm gonna be late! My name is Popco. I'm just your average run-of-the-mill 14-year-old 7th grader.
I wouldn't watch the same episode twice in a row. I'd rather just skim through the skits I actually liked, which is kind of the problem of every sketch show ever made. One of the major reasons why people say they hate Saturday Night Live now is because they only remember the good skits from their childhood and forget all the other schlock they had to sit through. People have been saying SNL is no longer funny since before the 90s. Your generation ain't special.
I miss Joe Piscopo.
If PopTeam Epic was airing on TV here, it'd be fun if they only aired one version and switched between them for each rerun. It's perfect for Adult Swim, not the Toonami anime block, but Adult Swim itself. If anything, they should air these segments during commercial breaks.
PopTeam Epic!
You better enjoy PopTeam Epic now. It's gonna be one of those things that's funny, then people will hate how popular it is, and then completely denounce it in 10 years as LOL so random humor akin to Invader Zim or half of Newgrounds.com. You know it's true.
Perfect. Hey, mister, come on, snap out of it. Hey, can you see me? Whoa, yeah, you can see me!
What the hell?
I'm happy! The happy horse so full of fun, of course. It's plain to see it's fun to be happy. Here comes the fun.
Now, this is right up my alley, from one of the directors of Crank and based on a graphic novel I have never heard of. It's Happy on the SyFy Channel. You got a beat down, burned out former cop who's got to find his kidnapped daughter with the help of the girl's imaginary friend, Happy the horse, voiced by Patton Oswalt. Hey, the horse is CG animated and it's based on a graphic novel. That sort of counts for this list. Look, I love Nibbedine and Taylor's work. Let me gush about this. Just like Crank, it's a trashy show with the obvious dirty jokes and references to Jerry Springer, which come up in their films a lot for some reason. The radical camera work kept me engaged, even through the slower dialogue scenes. Unlike Crank, it's moderately paced and there's not that much action per episode, but when there is, it's a thrill.
Peanuts.
Sure, the family drama is a little standard, but ignoring how crude this show is, they found out how to get me emotionally invested. The broken main character, Nick, made me ask, who hurt you? And then you get that answer and are like, ow. With a pessimistic character like Nick being accompanied by an optimistic horse only he can see, they have a great dynamic when Happy refuses to do anything inappropriate.
Nick, there comes a time when you just gotta face reality.
Fuck you! Get the fuck away from me!
Oh, swear jar. When dirty words come out too far. That'll be 25 cents, please.
Happy, the show itself, has got some slick editing, but there are a few edits where I have to ask, what happened to those bad guys? They were being chased seconds ago, why are the heroes standing around talking? But it's forgivable. If you want Crank mixed with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, look into Happy on the SyFy Channel.
Merry Christmas.
Here it comes.
Don't you want a rematch?
Introducing Castlevania Bloodlines for Sega Genesis. The most horrifying vampire hunt ever. 2 new heroes, plus hordes of evil enemies and ghastly ghouls. It's intense adventure from Konami.
Killer outfit. Too bad the nightlife sucks. Dracula returned to Castlevania on Nintendo 64 from Konami.